wake up not knowing what century you're in, but you know one thing: everything belongs to you. Gold, empires, armies, oil, data. In every era, wealth means something different, and power changes along with it. In this video, we dive into the most obscene luxury humanity has ever seen, from tribal leaders who fought for the driest cave to modern billionaires buying tickets off the planet. Now, go back 200,000 years. There is no money, there is no throne, there is only survival. The warm blood of a mammoth runs down your forearm, your fingers ache. Your spear is lodged deep between the ribs of something that weighs more than 20 men combined. Around you, 15 hunters breathe heavy, their faces painted with mud and animal fat, their eyes locked on the beast as it takes its final breath. You did this. You organized the hunt. You read the herd's movements for 3 days. You chose the ambush point near the frozen riverbed. And now, because of you, your clan will eat for weeks. This is wealth in the Paleolithic era. Not gold, not land, not digital numbers flickering on a screen. Survival. The ability to keep 40 people alive when the world is trying to kill them every single day. You are not a king. There are no kings yet. No thrones, no crowns, no currencies. But in your band of nomadic humans, somewhere between 200,000 and 10,000 years before the Common Era, you are the closest thing to rich that exists. You have the sharpest obsidian blade, passed down from your mother who found the volcanic glass deposit 2 valleys east. You have 3 healthy children who will grow strong enough to hunt and gather. You have a warm cave entrance that faces away from the wind, lined with mammoth pelts thick enough to keep frost from biting your family while they sleep. The others in your group look to you, not because you declared yourself anything, but because when decisions need to be made about where to migrate, when to move camp, how to ration dried meat through the bitter months, your voice carries weight. Your judgment has kept people alive. That is your wealth. Fast forward. Thousands of years collapse into each other. The ice retreats. Humans stop following herds and start growing grain. Empires rise from mud brick and limestone. And now you are Amenhotep III, Pharaoh of Egypt. You wake in Thebes around 1380 years before Christ, in a palace complex so vast that servants spend entire mornings simply walking from one wing to another. The morning air carries incense from 100 temple offerings. Priests have been chanting your name since before dawn because, in their eyes, you are not merely a ruler. You are a living god, son of Amun himself. Your father left you an empire already fat with conquest and tribute. But what he gave you that truly matters is something far more valuable than territory. He gave you the gold mines of Nubia. You control more gold than any human being in the ancient world. Caravans arrive monthly from the southern provinces, their donkeys sagging under the weight of raw ore that your refiners will melt into jewelry, statuary, and diplomatic bribes. Foreign kings write you letters on clay tablets, pleading for your favor, and their words have become almost comical. In your country, they say, "Gold is as common as dust. Please send more. Please send us enough to honor our gods." You do not need to wage war. Why would you? War is expensive, messy, unpredictable. Instead, you send gold. You marry foreign princesses to secure alliances. You build monuments so enormous that historians 3,000 years from now will still be trying to understand how you moved the stones. The Colossi of Memnon, the Temple of Luxor. Structures that require armies of workers, fleets of barges, decades of coordinated labor. You commission more statues of yourself than any pharaoh before or after. Over 250 survive to the modern age. You want the world to remember your face, and they do, though perhaps not in the way you imagine. Recent forensic reconstructions of your mummy reveal the truth. By the end of your life, you were obese, balding, suffering from terrible dental problems and arthritis so severe that you could barely walk. You stood about 5 feet and 1 inch tall. The gold-plated statues depicted you as a broad-shouldered divine figure. The reality was a sick, sedentary man who ate too well and moved too little. But none of that diminished your wealth. Modern economic comparisons suggest your control over resources could rival trillions in today's currency. When you died, some scholars believe your mummy was entirely covered in gold leaf. Even in death, you looked like a statue of a god. Now jump again. Different continent, different millennium. You are Augustus Caesar, and you have just ended a century of Roman civil wars by putting a sword through the old republic and calling the corpse something new. The year is 27 before Christ. The Senate, terrified and exhausted, grants you powers no Roman has ever held. You control the legions. You control the treasury. You control Egypt as your personal property, not a province of Rome, but your private estate. Because you learned from Cleopatra's mistake that whoever holds the Nile's grain holds the power to starve or feed an empire. Your adoptive father, Julius Caesar, left you 75% of his fortune when assassins cut him down on the Senate floor. You were 18 years old. Within 15 years, you destroyed everyone who stood in your way. Mark Antony, the conspirators, your own friends when they became inconvenient. Now you sit alone at the top of the world. Estimates suggest your personal wealth equaled roughly 20% of the entire Roman economy. Modern calculations place that somewhere around $4.6 trillion. You are, arguably, the richest human being to ever live in the Western world. But what does that wealth look like? You transform Rome from a city of brick into a city of marble. You fund 30 legions, hundreds of thousands of soldiers, their salaries paid from your personal accounts. You build roads that will still carry traffic 2,000 years from now. You establish a postal system, a fire brigade, a police force. The Pax Romana, the Roman peace, begins under your rule. For the first time in generations, a farmer in Gaul and a merchant in Syria can travel without fear of bandits or war. You eat simply, they say. Coarse bread, small fish, figs. You sleep in a modest room. The luxury is not in what you consume, but in what you command. An empire of 60 million people moves at your word. Marble arrives from Greek quarries. Silk arrives from China along routes your diplomats secured. Wild animals arrive from Africa for games that keep the populace entertained and docile. The wealth is the power, and the power is absolute. But absolute power does not guarantee happiness. Your personal life is a disaster of political marriages, exiled children, and heirs who die before you. You spend your final years watching your plans for succession collapse one funeral at a time. When you die in 14 AD, your last words, according to some accounts, are a request for applause. Have I played my part well in this comedy of life? Then applaud as I exit. The richest man in Rome, asking for clapping. Now cross the Sahara. Move forward 13 centuries. You are Mansa Musa, 9th ruler of the Mali Empire, and you are preparing for a journey that will make your name synonymous with wealth for the rest of human history. The year is 1324. Your empire controls the gold and salt trade across West Africa, two of the most valuable commodities on Earth. Mali is not just wealthy. Mali produces roughly half of the world's gold supply, and you, as Mansa, control the taxation of every ounce. But you are also a devout Muslim. And every Muslim must make the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, at least once in their lifetime if they are able. You are able. Your caravan departing from Niani includes 60,000 people. 12,000 of them are slaves, each carrying 4 pounds of gold. 80 camels follow, each loaded with somewhere between 50 and 300 pounds of gold dust. 500 servants walk before you, each holding a golden staff weighing over 4 pounds. This is not a pilgrimage. This is a statement. When you reach Cairo, you meet with the Mamluk Sultan. You give gifts so lavish that the local economy cannot absorb them. You distribute gold to the poor, to merchants, to anyone who crosses your path. You pay whatever price is asked for goods in the bazaar, making sellers delirious with fortune. And then you leave, and the consequences begin. You have flooded Cairo, Mecca, and Medina with so much gold that you have crashed the value of the metal itself. Prices skyrocket. Inflation spirals. The Egyptian economy staggers into a recession that lasts over a decade. On your return trip, realizing what you have done, you attempt to fix the damage. You borrow back as much gold as possible from Cairo's moneylenders, who charge you enormous interest rates, delighted at the opportunity. Some historians say you ruined, repaired, and ruined again the gold markets of 3 continents in a single journey. Your name appears on the Catalan Atlas of 1375, the most important European map of the medieval world. There you sit, a crowned African king holding a golden scepter, gazing at a nugget of gold. European explorers will spend the next 2 centuries trying to find the source of your wealth. But you never cared about their maps. You wanted to honor God. And if that meant accidentally destabilizing the Mediterranean economy, Well, perhaps God has a sense of humor. Now speed through centuries, cross the Atlantic. You are John D. Rockefeller, and it is 1880, and you are systematically purchasing every oil refinery in Cleveland, Ohio, whether the owners want to sell or not. Your method is elegant. You show them your books. You demonstrate that your operation is so efficient, so vertically integrated, so mercilessly optimized that competition is suicide. They can sell now at a fair price and become shareholders in your growing empire. Or they can resist, watch you undercut their prices until they bleed money, and then you will buy them at auction for pennies. Most sell. Within a decade, Standard Oil refines 90% of all oil in the United States. You control not just refineries, but pipelines, railroads, barrel manufacturers, distribution networks. You have invented a new form of capitalism, one where a single corporation swallows its entire industry. By 1913, your personal wealth reaches $900 million. That represents nearly 3% of the entire American gross domestic product. Adjusted for economic share, it equals somewhere between $400 billion and $600 billion today. You are the first billionaire, the first human being to accumulate that much personal wealth in recorded history. And yet, you live simply, you dress plainly, you attend Baptist church every Sunday. You believe genuinely that God gave you this money for a purpose, and so you give it away. Hundreds of millions to universities, medical research, public health campaigns. The Rockefeller Foundation will eradicate hookworm in the American South, fund the development of the yellow fever vaccine, and establish some of the most important research institutions on Earth. You wanted to live to 100. You died at 97, 2 years and 46 days short of arteriosclerosis. Your remaining fortune was distributed among trusts that still benefit your descendants today. And finally, the present. You are Elon Musk, and your wealth is something entirely new, something that never existed before in human history. You do not own gold mines. You do not control oil fields. You own equity in companies whose valuations fluctuate by billions of dollars based on market sentiment, news cycles, and algorithmic trading that happens faster than human thought. Your net worth can rise or fall by $20 billion in a single afternoon. You own rockets that land themselves on floating barges in the ocean. You own social media platforms where hundreds of millions of people spend hours of their lives every day. You own factories and artificial intelligence companies that governments consider strategic assets. As of early 2026, your fortune exceeds $700 billion. You are the first person in history to cross that threshold. Projections suggest you may become the world's first trillionaire within the decade. But what does that wealth look like in daily life? Private jets that eliminate airport security and commercial flight schedules. The ability to purchase entire companies because you disagree with how they operate. Security details that rival small militaries. Access to world leaders who return your calls within minutes. The luxury is not in consumption. It is in freedom. Freedom from consequences, from waiting, from the word no. And yet, the Paleolithic hunter who brought down the mammoth had something these modern titans will never possess. When that hunter sat by the fire, surrounded by their clan, eating meat earned with their own hands, there was no algorithm calculating their worth, no stock ticker determining their status, no public relations team managing their image. They were wealthy because they were alive, because their people were alive, because tomorrow they would do it all again, together. Wealth has always been the same thing wearing different masks. Control, security, the ability to shape the world according to your will. What changes is the scale. What remains is the hunger. And what none of them ever found, from the cave painter to the pharaoh to the emperor to the industrialist to the tech billionaire, is the answer to a simple question. How much is enough? Maybe there is no answer. Maybe wealth is not a destination but a direction, a hunger that grows with every meal. Or maybe, just maybe, the richest person who ever lived was the one who looked at what they had and said, "This is enough." If you watched until here, don't forget to leave your like and comment down below where you're watching from. Your support makes all the difference for us. Subscribe to the channel and check out the next video on your screen. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.